I don't want long hours. So I'm actually setting time boundaries for how I'm working. I need what I'm selling to be or offering to be scalable, and so that I can hit the revenue goals that I have for myself, so I can take, trips that I want to take, and that I'm not starving, and I want to be able to be there for my family. Like, these are things that I am naming my values, and I'm building my life and my work accordingly. And that is what I want for people. And what I want for people also is to know that you can, period. So, what I think, a lot of people take jobs because they think that what they truly desire is not possible or it is not permissible for them.
Welcome back to Impostrix Podcast. My name is Whitney Knox-Lee, and I'm your host. This is Season 3 of Impostrix Podcast, where we are focusing on validating small business owners of color, entrepreneurs, and folks who unfortunately are navigating employment discrimination in their workplace. Impostrix Podcast always puts folks of color first. So all of our guests are people of color who are sharing about their personal experience or their learned experience. So buckle up, let's go. Hi, and welcome back to Impostrix Podcast. I'm your host, Whitney Knox-Lee. I am here today with Shat Hayes. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and this is a kind of cool connection. Shaté and I are both in a incubator program here in Atlanta for Black entrepreneurs and business owners, and so this is how we met. And essentially, I'm hearing her talk about developing, parts of her business, and I'm thinking to myself, I have that same damn question. Maybe we should talk, because I bet we could help each other formulate the language that we need to formulate in order to reach the people that we want to reach. And so that has been a cool kind of development as I've been exploring entrepreneurship and exploring who all is out there and what they are doing. So I'm looking forward to this conversation, Shaté. And I would love for you to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Whitney. That was such a beautiful intro. I appreciate it. And I'm so glad that we have connected likewise. So, introduce myself. I'm Shat Hayes, originally from Houston. I'm a proud Black woman. We were just talking about being blurs or blurs in general.
I'm definitely not a blurred.
I'm absolutely a blurred. I identify as a bookworm. I identify as a creative, a free spirit. Yeah, I'm just me, and I love to live my life on my life and my career on my own terms, if possible.
Yes, and I love blurs for these reasons. I just am not nerdy enough to be one. Like, I don't know all the things. I don't care either. But I love how geeked out y'all be getting about stuff. I find it very fun and
Yeah,
fascinating. So,
yeah. Books and words are
oh,
the sort of the I guess the thing of my choice, and also really random fun facts. So I'm like really curious about things. I'm the type of person that will be so I love documentaries and movies too. I just love stories. And so as I'm watching a documentary or anything that's based on a true story, I'm absolutely looking up the real story in real time because I want to know the facts behind it. I just, I geek out on that kind of stuff for sure.
but do you ever ruin it for yourself? Like when you're watching something and you're like, "Ooh, let me find out," and then you're reading the ending, but you're only an hour into the movie.
It never ruins it for me, and I think this is because of my dance and production background. What I do see happen time and time again is that's not how it really happened. That that's not the real story. Who wrote this? Where's the
Yeah.
real story, So
Yeah. When my husband does it, because he does this too, but he's like, I call him a professional TV watcher. So it doesn't ruin when he's looking up stuff, it doesn't ruin it for him because he already knows the formula of creating that type of show, if you will. So he already knows who the bad guy is. He already knows how it's going to end. He might have seen that person for a split second in the first frame, and he's like, that's the bad guy. And I'm like, I don't even want to watch this with you. Because I'm
Yep.
naive TV watcher,
Mm,
like.
mhm. I'm kinda like your husband a little bit. Like, when I was younger, I went through this phase where I was, reading murder mystery books, back to back to back, and, little
Mm.
young adult ones, Agatha Christie or whoever and I was getting to the point where I was able to, pick who the the person was, the murderer was, before the end of the book. So I stopped reading them. And now a lot of times I'm able to do that when I'm watching a show. But I love it when I'm wrong, when I'm pleasantly surprised, because then I'm like, ooh, this writing. Like, yes, you got me. I ain't see that coming. Like, so
Yes.
I'm really into it. I'm really into it.
Yes. I just chuckle because, yep, that's how my husband be. He was like, that's how I know I like this show because I don't know what's going to happen. I'm like, I just feel like you watch too much TV. Like, just back up a little bit so that you can be surprised every now and then. But okay, we digress already. This is how you know how this conversation is about to go. So, you like I mentioned before, we are in this incubator program, and from what I was gathering, from the conversations that we had in that program, you are a coach to creatives to help them live their best life, doing what they love, and make money. Is that it?
Yeah, language matters to me, and sometimes I wonder how I feel about the word coach. The way that I call
Oh,
myself is a creative
hmm
career strategist, only because there are certain feelings around coach. I also myself have them. And so it is not necessarily that I'm supporting folks in like one-on-one coaching sessions per se. It's a part of how I'm able to support them. But for me, I am mainly, more than anything, helping them to strategize how they can make a living doing what they love, how they can live their purpose and love their work. But yes, it's
mm.
still the same. It's adjacent. It's just different words. Yeah.
Yeah, no, well, words do matter. Live their purpose and do what they love.
Mm-hmm. Love their work.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Um, so tell me about like how you got here. How you got
Mm.
to this point in your life where you have this business and you're implementing and living your passion.
I mean, how much time you got? So I'll start here with my first career as a professional dancer choreographer. Dance educator, got a master's in dance. I performed everywhere. So I started my career in LA, had an agent there, and then after about 4 years moved back to Texas because the grind was just really brutal for me, and it's hard to sort of be in that kind of field without like a really strong support system and without, money to sustain your living. And so I moved back to Texas, and brought with me everything that I had learned in LA and like worked more out, regionally than I did even in LA, which caught me by surprise. But I was traveling overseas and doing I fell in love with theater, and just really my dance career was evolving as I evolved, and it was really lovely. So I got a master's, and then I was teaching college campuses. And then one day, to my surprise, I outgrew it. I was never the person that thought I was going to do anything other than be a professional dancer. It was so embedded into my identity. It was when I heard people say I used to dance. I used to be like, used to? Like, who quits dance? Like, used to, just super just and then one day that was me. I was kind of like, I had changed to a point where I would like a different lifestyle. I was at the point at that moment teaching at maybe like 6 or 7 college campuses in the Dallas area. So I'm teaching all day, driving all over the city. I am in rehearsals for, production, and I'm choreographing all night. So from like 6 to 11, I'm like grading papers on the weekend. I'm traveling to adjudicate concerts and teach classes. And it was fulfilling and I loved it. And then also it was a lot, you know?
Mm,
And so it was a certain point where I was like, gosh, I want to buy a home and sit down somewhere. I'd like to have built more for myself than, these really rich experiences. And when I started to think like that, it started to feel like, okay, I feel like I want to do something more, but I don't know what the more is. And during this time, though, I had already started to support dancers, and adjacent artists, performers, essentially, with launching their careers, right? Building sustainable careers. And I built a resource called The Working Dancer. I'm like coaching, teaching dancers, creating all this content, writing for Dance Magazine, Point Magazine, like all of these places. And I wasn't able to sustain, I didn't have the tools that I have now. So I wasn't able to
mm,
really grow it in a way that it felt like it was replacing my income from dance.
yeah.
So I went into a corporate career in career development. I started as a
Mm.
career coach.
Dun dun dun.
Right, exactly. Which is it's so interesting because it was the last thing that I thought I would do, but it was also the thing that was the most natural thing for me to do, right?
Mm.
And so then I did that work at an ed tech organization doing like supporting workforce development programs for about 5.5, 6 years. Within that time, I had gone from a career coach to a VP of programs. Like, so through all that time. So I've done literally every part of supporting someone with growing or changing their careers. And I always knew that I wanted to go back on my own, and I knew I wanted to do it differently. And I knew, like, I feel at the core of me that I know what it feels like to have a dream career, to feel like, "Ooh, this just lights me up." And my core value, core mission is to help as many people as possible feel that way. And so now through Career Steward, that's what I am out here trying to do in these streets. I'm trying to make sure as many people as possible, like I said before, are able to live their purpose and love their work.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's great how for me there is like a clear through line for you and the career path that you've taken. And
Mhm.
I love that it does touch on so many of these different not only like specific jobs, but also perspectives. So from being kind of like feet on the ground, working with people that you're dancing with,
Mhm.
okay, now I am kind of a coach consultant situation, to educating, like formal education.
Mhm.
To corporate, which I don't know. For me, corporate's kind of like the bad C word. But also there's a lot of great things that come out of corporate roles.
Yep.
And so it's not, I don't know, it's not the bad boogeyman that I think sometimes I think about corporate being. Um, and it's really clear how today with your business, all of these experiences have really set you up to be able to thrive in the strategic support that you're providing to your clients.
Absolutely.
So, as far as your career path,
Mhm.
what challenges have you had as a creative trying to find this career path, trying to find kind of this space that you're at right now?
Mm. So many. My goodness. I can recall going to tell gosh, I everything you're asking, I'm like, literally, how much time do you have? I'm gonna start with that first career. Becoming a professional dancer choreographer was not anything that I ever thought I would do or could do. It wasn't on my radar. I didn't grow up saying I want to do anything when I grew up, except for be like my mom, right? So there was not a dream
Mm,
career on the horizon. A lot of dancers, especially ones I remember I'm sure it's still the case now, but when I was heavy in the scene and auditioning stuff, everyone had something to point to, a reference point to be like, when I saw Michael Jackson's "Remember the Time," or when I saw Janet Jackson's "Rhythm Nation,"
mm,
when I saw these videos, when I saw these things on TV, I knew I wanted to do that for a living. Well, I didn't grow up with cable. So I didn't know
mm.
that was a thing. I did wanna be a fly girl on A Living Color. I still wanna be a fly girl on A Living Color. Um, and I had been exposed to, like, like, my family I guess what I'm trying to get to is my family exposed me to what they knew to expose me to. And, the hip hop culture is still relatively new, fresh around that time, early 90s. So, I didn't have a reference point for what I could do differently in the world. And so when I started off my career, the first thing I want to say is when I decided to do it, my parents were like, "What the hell? Like, we don't know how to support you in that, and we just spent all this money to help you go to Spelman, and you about to go to LA and do what now?" So
Mhm,
I would say the first challenge is like this education to like families of creatives, or I would just say the
mm,
society at large, because a lot of people, when they hear a creative wanting to pursue their dreams, they can't fathom how it's possible beyond some famous person. And so they're already thinking like, well, you're probably not going to do that. So like, how you going to pay your bills? And their other reference point is probably starving artists, people who go out to places trying to be a star and then they end up homeless or something like that. But the thing is with creatives, everybody out here trying to be a star. Like, people are just
mm,
trying to create and love their life and make, like, not just a decent living. I believe we want to be comfortable and abundant, but everybody's not trying to be Taylor Swift or Beyonce. Some people
Right.
are, but not all of us. So that was one challenge, the sort of education around what it means to have a creative career. A lot of people weren't talking about it. Fortunately, now there's a lot out there about the gig economy and what's possible. There's technology to support creatives and freelancers. Like, there's a lot more than it was when I was starting out. I would say the other thing was another challenge was me, like how I saw myself, how I thought about myself, my insecurities. I was so afraid to put myself out there. So I'm going out here, I'm auditioning, I'm doing these things because I know how to dance, but I didn't have the mindset, I feel like, to book some of the things I really wanted to book. Like, I still want to work with Beyonce. I'm gonna just keep saying it until it materializes in some way. And I know that at that time, I wasn't in a place to have an opportunity like that. Sure, I could have danced my ass off, but my mind, my spirit, my energy, I don't think was aligned in a way that would have supported that type of work. And so, I mean, another challenge I'll say, and I'll stop there because I know I'm saying a lot, rejection. Like that, it's a part of the nature of the work. It's hard. I'm grateful for it on this side of it because I am so resilient. I know how to turn a no into something else and move forward. I know how to take a no and be like, kind of discern, is this door actually closed, meaning I need to redirect and look for something else, or is this just the first no to that thing that I'm actually going to get? So I'm grateful for it, but in the moment, baby, like all these
Hmm.
tears, all these I'm about to quit and forget you. I quit dance, I want to say at least 2 times. Like, I ain't
Mm.
doing this no more. I actually left. That's how I left LA. I was like, you know what, I had worked myself into exhaustion. I was like borderline depressed. I wasn't taking care of myself. And part of it was that I was working an overnight job to be able to make a living and then also be available for dance during the day, like auditions and things. And so that overnight schedule and like constantly going and not sleeping well and not eating well, I was just like a shell of myself. And so I was like, I'm gonna go to Texas and do something else. I'm gonna become an interior designer or something because I also love HGTV. And I was like, I quit. But when I got here, because I'm in Houston right now with family, when I got here and I slept literally for like almost a month, and then I started coming back to myself, my career was just like on and popping immediately. So,
Mm.
yeah, those are some things. Education around what it means to have an actual day to day creative career, my own mindset, and then, yeah, rejection for sure.
And do you think that folks of color who are creatives are dealing with anything else? Like, do you think that we're out here having the same experiences, or like what impact is there for folks of color who are creatives, who are out here trying to hustle and, you know, do what they love and be able
Mhm.
to sustain that?
I gotta be honest and say, based on my experience, it's sort of hard to say, and I gotta tell you why.
Hmm.
So, I grew up having experienced an educational experience where it was predominantly white, and then I had the fortune of going to, even in middle school, primary school, all black school experience. I knew early on that I felt more belonging in black spaces. And so then I went to college and all an HBCU. And so I say that to say I sought out black spaces. Even the
Mm.
majority of my work during the time where I was an educator and doing all of this theater, it was primarily like legitimately 99.5% black theater. So I imagine that as a black creative or creator, the same societal, systemic, oppressive systems, right, are there. And I think about them when I do remember situations where I would go and maybe audition for like a white regional theater, predominantly white theater. And they're usually more resourced than black theaters are for sure. And just even auditioning, there was always this sense, this feeling, I can't prove it, but it's a gut knowing that there's already like a black girl or a type of black girl that they prefer to work with. And that type of black girl that's already in the system, that's already in with this group, who's already networked with them, will get this work over the somebody else. And a little bit of that is just, again, the nature of the beast. Like, they're only looking for one type of this, one type of that. It's harder when it's a white space, because if there's only enough space for the one Black person and they know this one Black person, she gonna get it every time. But then the reverse also happens, where, maybe Missy is not looking for a ton of white dancers. Maybe she's looking for, so yeah, I believe that it does happen. And I also put myself in spaces where I'm having a Black experience. I mean, look at us at the Russell Center. Like, I sought that out intentionally. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's at least coming from like the legal background, I feel um, there's much less people of color working within the legal field. And there are spaces for folks of color, but they are intentional, and sometimes you do have to seek them out. But I think that finding that makes all the difference. Um, and when I was listening to you talk about your experiences, and even around like the language that we're using to describe, that I'm mostly using to describe creatives and the experience that they're having, I'm finding myself wondering, you had mentioned not all creatives want to be Beyonce and Taylor Swift.
mhm,
And I'm over here thinking about the narratives around creatives, around the starving artist, around like the instability, I
mhm,
think is the word. When I think of being a creative, I think of financial instability.
mhm,
Um, and so I think my question for you is like, what is this life that you dream of for creatives? Um, what is what is the goal when we talk about living our lives, doing the things that we love? Does that mean, I mean, I guess it must mean for some of us, we are working late into the night and we're working, these crazy hours and traveling all over the place because that's what that craft demands. So I would love to hear from you. Like, what are you trying? What is the life? What is the life we trying to
mhm.
get to?
That's a good question. Feels a little loaded, and I'm not trying to give a cop out, but the real of it is, what I want for people, for all people, but especially creatives too. I want us to have the lives that we want for ourselves. I
Hmm.
want us to build according to I want us to build from the inside out. So I talk a lot about building a career from the inside out, but I think that includes your life too, meaning, like, what is your spirit, your intuition, your heart leading and guiding you towards? In terms of what that looked like, it might look differently for different people. So if I am, I can give you an example of what it looks like for me. I want to be able to create something each day. I want to be able to be in service to other people. I don't want long hours. So I'm actually setting time boundaries for how I'm working. I need what I'm selling to be, or offering to be, scalable, and so that I can hit the revenue goals that I have for myself, so I can take, trips that I want to take, and that I'm not starving, and I want to be able to be there for my family. Like, these are things that I am naming my values, and I'm building my life and my work accordingly. And that is what I want for people. And what I want for people also is to know that you can, period. So, what I think, a lot of people take jobs because they think that what they truly desire is not possible, or it is not permissible for them. And so, if someone is saying, "Ooh, I'm a vocalist, I love to sing," or whatever their art is, their thing is, I think what it is important to know, and this is why I prefer to call myself a strategist over a coach, is then let's work together to figure out how we translate what you love about singing into a career or a body of work that is sustainable for you. So if you love, I don't know, like learning about the music, do you love connecting with people? Like, what's the essence of the thing that you're getting out of this? And how can that show up in other ways that is connected to music? And let's try those things on. Let's build in those ways. And then you get to have your life that you really want without it looking like these very prescriptive things that we just kind of What we see on TV is what we think is it, or what we've read about. We only know what we've been exposed to. So if we don't know what we don't know, let's like dig a little deeper and then do some research and see what else is out there, or maybe just create the thing yourself.
Yeah. I was create the thing yourself, man. I just wish I wish it felt easier. But I guess if
Oh.
it felt easier, then maybe it wouldn't be worth it. I don't know, blah 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 blah. I'm just out here creating stuff that I want though, and like it is hard. It is really hard.
What's hard about it? What do you mean?
The consistency being consistent is hard.
Mm.
Um, you were talking about the rejection that comes along with being a creative. I don't consider myself a creative, although I know I am by way of having a podcast. Okay, fine. Um, the rejection though of like just this entrepreneurship of like not the creative part of my life right now
Mhm.
is difficult. And pushing past, so our coach mentor person right now really encourages us to talk to, I don't know, like 5 people a day or
Mhm.
something that to me sounds crazy, right? I was writing in my journal like we're supposed to do goals, what are the things that we're supposed to work on this week, blah 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 blah. I'm writing in my journal, talk to 2 people about wills for the people, right? And I had to like stop myself and get honest and scratch it out. I said, no, she didn't say 2 people. I think her number is like 20 people a week or something. And
Mm.
I'm just like, I feel real uncomfortable about
Mm.
this, about like the work that we got to do out in these entrepreneur streets. Um, and it's not even the talking because I'm an extrovert. I don't mind talking. It's the no's. I don't
Yeah.
want the no's. Like, I'll go talk to you all day long if I know you're going to say yes. But it's the no being a part of entrepreneurship, being a part of being a creative, that I don't really think I was. Maybe I just experienced it differently when I
Mhm.
was a W 2 employee. Um, I knew my job. I knew who to talk to, when to talk to them. I knew everything that, I should be expecting out of my job. And there wasn't so often a lot of, I'm going to pitch this to you or I'm going to try and sell this to you, except for in court. But you know that that's what it is. And it's less about me because I'm not representing myself as an attorney. I'm representing somebody else. So it's just, in this case, it's the personal nature of having a craft or of doing a thing where you are the value, where you are the thing that is being purchased, or your experience, your knowledge is the thing that's being purchased, um, is really overwhelming and feels really heavy to me at times. And so it's really for me been about managing that because I don't really all the time feel like putting my own self out there
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, that's ooh, I got a lot to double click on there. Yes, it is a lot of putting yourself out there. You know what Erica Badu said? Keep in mind I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit. Like
Mhm.
that is the day to day of I think most creatives. What you call yourself, you don't consider yourself a creative. I would consider you a creator for sure. Like you're making something. You're manifesting an idea into something tangible, and that's super valuable. I would say the part about consistency, I think you just gotta find a system that works for you. Like, what's your schedule? What's the you time every single day? And it's just don't try to create based on when you have the inspiration to do it. I think sometimes that is important. And sometimes when it's a part of what you're doing as your livelihood, you're going to need to just schedule that time. So, for example, if I wanna write a book, I can't wait for inspiration to strike. I'm going to have to say, okay, I'm writing for 30 minutes every day, and whatever comes out is what comes out. And so it's the habit forming around the art that starts to help it make it sustainable. Now, the rejection, baby. Yes. And all of the no's, and I know it's way easier to talk about it this way than it is to live it. Because even just yesterday, I was talking to an accountability buddy, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, right? And so because I'm fatigued with this learning curve that I feel like I'm on at this
Yeah.
particular moment. And that's somebody who's like, I got the resilience from a bunch of rejection. Even I am enduring like moments like that. What I'll say to that is all of the no's are data points. They're literally data points. And so you have to keep trying something until it works. And it's I think a combination of you do need to follow what drives you and what interests you and what you enjoy because that's what people are going to gravitate towards. So if you're forcing anything, it's going to be that much harder, I think, for anything to come of it. And it's probably not going to be as long standing, especially to get you through the hard times. But if you're following this bliss, which I'm kind of hesitant to use that word, but if you're following that, this nudging of who you are from the inside out and building and creating off of that, and talking about that and sharing how excited you are to be around that, like your people are gonna gravitate towards that. Not just people, your people. They're gonna be like, oh yes, whatever she said or whatever she's doing in this way, like yes, that's me. She sees me, and so that I think is important when you're building something. You gotta just stick it out long enough to understand what where the alignment is for you personally, and then where the alignment is with the people that you're serving or connecting with.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah. This one question that I had thought of earlier that I'm going to ask now is around like the major blockages that you notice from the folks that you wind up working with
Yeah.
as creatives. I I guess maybe this question is two part. One, when does somebody come to you? Like
Mhm.
when are they seeking your services? And as you are working with them, what are maybe some commonalities or things that you really see quite often around what is getting in the way of this person and their goal?
Mhm. Mhm. Good question. Good question. So the when people usually seek me out, it's two scenarios. When someone is like, I am ready for more, but so just like me, but I don't know what that more is. And so they're like I know I want to do something different. I know kind of wanted to involve this maybe ish, but I don't know what it could be. That's actually one of my favorite places to be because then it's kind of like puzzling. You know, it's the problem solving of it that I really love. So I don't know what to do. I need somebody to help me. And then there's this group of people who, after I've actually talked to them, and they're saying that they don't know what to do, but what it really is, they know exactly what they want to do, and they're too scared to do it, or they somehow they've experienced. And I guess this is now getting into what am I noticing these blockages with some
Mhm.
folks. It is workplace traumas that have now bruised them in such a way that they're not confident. They think that what they're asking for is too much. They think that they're not worthy of it. They don't have enough or they aren't enough. And so a lot of it is mindset. A lot of it is fear. Like I'm afraid to be seen. So much like me too. Like I want to do this and I want to make a living, but I don't want to be promoting myself all the time. I don't want to be talking about myself. I don't want to ask for a sale or invite people to work with me. Like I'm afraid that I won't be able to do this. I'm gonna have to go get a job. I'm afraid to put myself out there. I'm afraid it's so much fear and like getting out of our own ways. And there are the occasional folks who like I was like this in some ways when I was working with coaches of my own. Like, just give me the information and I'm gonna do it. And I am like that in a lot of ways. Just tell me what to do. I'm gonna figure it out. But then there are gonna be moments, even as I'm trying to figure it out, where I'm either having an off day or I'm not getting the same kind of results that other people around me are. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And like, why is this so hard for me? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's typically either a tactical thing or a lot of times a mindset, a fear thing.
I have an accountability person who's in the same place as me as far as starting up their law practice. And we are listening to Who Wants to Be, or no, We Should All Be Millionaires by
Mhm.
Rachel Rodgers. Your girl here, Shaté, is a Rachel Rodgers. I don't know what you call it. What do you call it?
A Hello 7 certified coach, business
Thank
coach.
you.
Yeah. Mhm.
She is a certified business coach, but does not like the word coach. We'll call her a certified business strategist. Okay.
Yes.
Um, And, this book has really been damn helpful.
Mhm.
It's really been helpful.
Mhm.
Um, One of the things that it talks about and that I've, hearing a lot about in these entrepreneurial circles is, of course, diversifying income streams,
Mhm.
but also like the urgency of just doing it. And so me and this accountability buddy came up with this idea that we have, and for a product. And last night, so I'm a perfectionist. This is where this is all going. I'm a
Mhm.
perfectionist and it's stopping me from doing stuff, right? Okay.
Mhm.
So last night, I find myself starting to research all the various platforms I can sell this product on and all the various formats I can create this product to be in and all of the things that are going to result in me having a million decisions and not picking one. And so I stopped myself because I was just kind of like, for once in my life, first of all, channel the mediocre white man, right? So, like, they don't be doing all this research, just do the thing. So, that's number one. But two, having the minimum viable product, the MVP. Like, getting the thing out there and then making it better and then perfecting it based on the feedback that I'm receiving for the people that are getting, you know, the thing 1.0. Okay? Like I'm not my 1.0 is not going to be
Mhm.
perfect. So let me stop trying to make it perfect and like get the things on paper. So what you were saying about like writing the book, like if I'm going to write a book, I just got to write the book
Mhm.
30 minutes a day or however many, a day. And so, my question is around perfectionism and with creatives in particular. Do you find that folks struggle with like their craft and l- letting go of the outcome or of the product or of the thing? Like, I'm thinking about my sister is a painter,
Mhm.
and I don't even know at this point how she decides that something is done, but I feel so often stuck in the it's not done because it's not perfect. And because it's not done, I can't go and make money.
Baby. So, perfectionism. I'm going to speak. I'm not even going to speak for all creatives. I'm going to speak for this creative me myself. Perfectionism is something I have a lot of experience with, and thank God for God in therapy because my therapist has like really pushed me on perfectionism. And so I would, because it's helped me, I would say for anyone else who's identifying as a perfectionist, I would really first sit, reflect, journal, whatever, talk to somebody about where your perfectionism is coming from. What is it a response to of whatever? And so if it's a childhood thing, if it's usually around some version of like you maybe feel a not enoughness, or there was like some sort of trauma that taught you that you maybe for me abandonment is like one of my core traumas, and I'm like, let me show up perfectly so I don't risk people leaving or judging or whatever the thing is. So I would say number one, try to address that if you can. I don't know if we want to go there in this conversation, but that's where spirit led, so that's what came out. Second thing is, when it comes to, there is this saying that I like to say, even not just in performance and theater, but also when I was working in a corporate space, the I believe a key to success is not putting yourself above the work. Like you always have to honor the service, the thing, the mission, the cause more than you honor yourself. And in that way, you are doing what is best for the work, not residing or abiding in ego, if that makes sense. And so the way that looks like is we're gonna rehearse the hell out of this show, this production. I'm gonna try to make sure that you get every step, every note, every moment, every pass, every transition perfectly. And I gotta let go enough to know that this thing, this project, this show is gonna be what it wants to be itself. It has its own heart, its own spirit. And so for example, there's this one show, one of my favorite shows to have choreographed was The Color Purple for regional theater in the Dallas area. And, we had staged this thing perfectly. Or was it The Color Purple or was it another show? One of the shows at this theater, one of the main folks got injured, like night or so before opening. And so we're trying to like retailor the choreography to fit like this injury, make sure he doesn't injure himself even more, give it to somebody else. That kind of stuff, that means the show wanted it to be some other way. And there is no crying over it, being frustrated over it is not going to help it anymore. Same thing for corporate space. We're doing a work, it's got to be like on point. And sometimes if there is so much resistance to a thing, if you're not getting deadlines met by certain people, if there isn't a collaboration in the way that you need to be, sometimes that's just a project going where it wants to go. So in our businesses, I think that's true a little bit of the time. And we have to be okay with putting things out in a way that is good enough so that you can get the data. Because here's the other thing that you risk when you are focused on things being perfect. If you spend all of your time crafting, creating this thing until it's perfect and you put it out there and nobody wants it, you have then just wasted all of your time. And so putting things out there good enough gets you the data that you need without you having to exert all of your resources to do it. So I know I just said a whole bunch of thoughts around perfectionism. Hopefully they made sense, but yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that look, you said resources, and I'm like, dang, she's speaking to me because I want to go buy a bunch of stuff. Like, I want to buy the infrastructure
Mm,
for the 3-year down the road product.
nope.
There's another, I'm going to be coming up with a course here soon. And my course, I'm all looking at Kajabi. I'm
No.
looking at Thinkific. I'm looking at Udemy or whatever.
Yeah.
Man, please, I have a Zoom subscription.
Yep.
So let me just go ahead, record myself. I saw in my Canva subscription that I can do the thing where you show the screen and then you're in the little bubble in the corner.
Yep.
Perfect. That's what I need. I need to share my screen and be in the bubble in the corner
Period.
for $0 for zero additional dollars.
Yep.
Whew, girl.
Yeah, that's real. It reminds me of concepts and things from folks like Damon John, who we know from
Hmm.
Fubu and Shark Tank. He has this book called The Power of Broke. I forget what comes after the colon, but it's all these stories of how folks have started without a ton of capital and have really leaned on resourcefulness. I think about even maybe watching an episode of Shark Tank and Mark Cuban chiming in, and there's this black couple actually who had won an investment and mentorship from him, and they were also saying how they were talking about, well, I think they make wines themselves, and how they were like trying to buy this expensive state of the art equipment and spend their capital on that. And Mark Cuban was like, no, 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 no. What you're gonna do is get an old used one, see how it works. Is it good for your production? Like, you're going to learn, and then once you feel like you've got a gist on this used equipment that's like whatever, a fraction of the cost, then he's like, use your resources in a wiser way. Like, start small, be creative, be resourceful. And I think that's a part of, as much as I really used to hate this saying, it's really a part of trusting the process. There's so many things are converging for me at the same time. Trusting the process. And I also was rewatching Jay Shetty's masterclass on masterclass.com today. And it was about navigating change. And he talks about, so many people feel like change is like this instant from this moment to next moment. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna be in my old house and I'm gonna be in my new house. I'm gonna be this weight, then I'm gonna be that weight. I'm gonna be in this career and I'm gonna be in that career. And change is just not that. It's actually an actual process. And so that's the same with manifestation too, right? It's not a genie thing. So if you're manifesting this business, this body of work where you're serving the people you want to serve, doing it in the way you love, you're there is no getting around the process of it for any of us, for anything that we want. And I think the folks who actually go on to be successful is they have the risk tolerance and the resilience to keep moving past when the process gets hard.
I'm building that up right now. I really am. I'm building that up. And right now, the day to day hard is that consistency. It is the grind of like, I've never worked harder in my life.
Yeah.
Like, I have never worked harder. Literally every minute of my day is spoken for.
Mhm.
Um, and, there's very little sleep.
Mm.
So, yeah, I appreciate these words. So, can you tell us, without giving away all your tools, your tips, your secrets, what are one or two of the key steps that you encourage creatives to do when they're coming to you, with whatever their problem is, trying to get from here to there, trying to like sit in this process of change? What are the key initial couple of things that you might tell them?
Mhm. I'm just gonna give it to y'all. Like, I'm not gonna hold back. So there are three key things that I have folks do, and I invite anyone to really apply this to your own life now. Make Nope. Match, make, and market. That's how it goes. Three M's. Match, make, and market. Match. Like, really do the work to reflect on who you are, what your strengths, your interests are, your vision, your victories, your valleys, like all of those types of things. I really love strengths finders as an assessment, so you can see what your top strengths are. And then start, as you're doing all these reflections, write it out if you can, see what keywords stick out to you, and then put those keywords along with your strengths or your interests or the pain points that you're trying to solve for in the world, put them into a Google search and see what comes up, see what kind of work comes up, see what interests you. Like, start doing research, have conversations with people that are doing similar work. Like, really, really spend time finding the alignment. And I don't want to feel like an overworked word, because you can kind of search for alignment, but you also kind of just got to feel it too. So, like, have some spend some time on some self-awareness is the first thing in the match. Make Then you've got to make over your story. You've got to upgrade what you're telling folks, so that you can win clients or jobs. So, for example, I could not go into or transition from a professional dancer to, a corporate career coach by saying, I am a dancer who has taught technique to X, Y, and Z folks, and I know how to stage productions for 200 people. That's important to someone, but that's not important to the person who I'm trying to win at this moment. And so you need to look at, a lot of people, use the word brand, and it is that. I'm just, I guess, trying not to be too catchphrasy, but or too trendy, but really look at the story that you're telling in the world, in the marketplace, right? And upgrade that and make sure it's consistent everywhere. Wherever you are presenting yourself, make sure the same story is everywhere. And then the last one is market. Like, spend the time strategically connecting with the people you're trying to serve. And so that is getting in front of people, that's having conversations, that's like getting the feedback in real time. And you just got to walk those steps out, quite honestly, until you get to where you're trying to go.
Thank you.
Mhm.
The make wait, what is it? Make, match.
Match, make, market.
Okay. Make. I oh man, I'm like embarrassed for myself right now. I have like a whole spiel.
Uh-huh.
Not necessarily in my pitch, but just like when I'm talking to people before I get to my pitch. I'm telling them all the things, right? And none of it have to do with estate planning. Not a damn thing.
Yeah. I
They don't
mean,
care. I
I
don't
have
think they're
my own.
talking to me about all this other stuff. They're not talking to me about my children or autism or a podcast or civil rights law or how much I love to eat or Ponce City Market. They ain't talking to me about none of that stuff. They talking to me because they saw that I do wills. Like, come on.
So you need to tighten up your pitch or your
Yeah,
summary
I don't know.
statement.
It's not the pitch because now if you want my pitch, you gonna get
Mhm.
the very tight,
Mhm.
60 seconds, 90 seconds, but it's like the small talk
Mhm.
beforehand. I don't know. I don't know. Anyways,
Mhm.
that gave me a lot to think about. I feel like I just went through
We
a
should talk
coaching
more
session with
about
you.
that though, offline. We should offline about it, yeah.
Yes, but okay, Shaté,
Uh-huh.
I want you, because we in this incubator program, I know
Mhm.
you got a pitch. So here's what I want you to do.
Uh-huh.
Give us your pitch. Tell us where we can find you, why we would want to find you, what you were going to offer folks. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean the pitch you've heard it a little bit earlier today. I'm Shaté Hayes. I'm a creative career strategist, and I help creatives and creators make a living doing what they love. And I will say that where you can find me, I'm all on social media at Career Steward. So the story there is I want to help people be good stewards of their calling, their purpose, their careers, and so it's career and then steward, like good steward. And then I have a resource that I'm happy to offer. And here's the thing, when you go get this resource, you get more than one. So there's some bonus stuff that I send you. But the initial resource when you go to this website, lightmycareermatch.com, is a career match guide. So that first step that we were talking about, it'll walk you through how to do some of that reflection and some of that research so that you can maybe start to think about, what it is that you might want to do that's most aligned with who you are now. And when you grab that resource, I'll also send you a list of 10 like work from anywhere ideas. So if it's like freedom and
Mm.
autonomy that you're looking for, you'll get those. And then you'll be officially plugged into anytime I create other resources as well. So careersteward.co, you can find me on the internets at Career Steward. If you want to just look at me personally on LinkedIn, I'm there. You can just find me Shaté Hayes or IG I am Shaté. And then go to lightmycareermatch.com for some
Light.
your goodness.
Okay. It's Light My Career Match.
Mhm.
Got it. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show. This is really helpful. Hopefully, at least for the creatives and creators who are listening, but also for everybody else. Because,
Mhm.
this season is all about like the nuts and bolts of really making money and like being protected against discrimination, being able to decide
Yeah.
how we are going to participate in this capitalist society,
Mm.
how we are going to be happy if we're working for somebody or if we're entrepreneurs. And so I hope that folks who are transitioning in their careers, or who are steady and stable in their careers, got some really good ideas around what they can do to really make sure that they're loving what they are doing.
Mhm.
So
And
I
that
appreciate you.
thank you. That's what's most important. If you don't take anything else away from this conversation, y'all, it is that career fulfillment is so important. It's so important because if you are unhappy in the work that you do, we never got around to talking about this, but if you're unhappy in the work that you do, studies show that it will negatively impact your health, right? So you can experience things like anxiety, depression, gut issues, sleep problems, like the list goes on and on. And it can impact your wealth. So people who love their work accumulate more wealth and they do it faster. And so loving your work is just, it matters. So,
It does. It
yeah.
does. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to Impostrix Podcast. I appreciate your support and that you continue to listen week after week after week. I've got some exciting news, which is that you can now listen and support Impostrix Podcast on the Alive Podcast Network app. You will find ad-free listening to nearly 100 other Black-hosted podcasts, in addition to Impostrix Podcast, and you'll be able to support those podcasts and really kind of get into your groove with that app. I hope that you will join me over there. I appreciate your support. To connect with me, feel free to join me on Instagram at Impostrix Podcast. You can also join me on Facebook in our validating space. Just search for Impostrix Podcast. All right, until next time, be validated.